Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a looking forward video that is going to have some good news and some bad news in it, to be completely honest. I'll start with the bad news because obviously that's kind of, you always need to start with what's erg. Um, and in all honesty, it's like, it's going to be bad news for some of you. It's actually not bad news for me at all. If you've been paying attention to the channel, you've noticed that it took me a really long time to get past these last three games. Like, I was literally playing Fire Emblem, Baton Kaito's Origins, and Berseria for over a year, over 2 years, I think. And part of that is that they were pretty long games, but a bigger part of it was just the pandemic hit. I just couldn't. My upload schedule went to crap. And yeah, now that I'm actually finishing them and trying to look forward, what I'm seeing is that my life has gotten very, very, very full with things that are not uploading to YouTube. I'm getting into my middle age, and just a lot of things have changed recently, and a lot of things have gotten better. But the bad part of that is that as they've gotten better, my life has gotten more and more and more complete and fulfilling. But because it's more complete, it means I don't have time to be as obsessive as I used to be. So I do think we're going to have to scale back YouTube, and by scale back, I kind of mean not have ongoing Let's Plays that just, I'm not going to try and keep it to the upload schedule. And to be completely honest, like, whenever I had to take a break from streaming, I said, oh, I'll just, stop streaming for a bit, but I'll be back. And then life immediately consumed my stream time, and I never came back. So I don't want to say that because I'm not sure it will actually happen. So I'm going to say that now with Berseria being done, the channel is going to go onto a hiatus slash we may not be doing let's plays because I'm really focused on other things in my personal life right now. But um if you want more information about what's going on, I am being a bit evasive because it's pseudo private. But if you want more information about that, then hit me up on Discord. I know I'm not on Discord a lot anymore, but I still do look at it. So shoot me a DM. I'll see it eventually. And yeah, because some of you I know on a more personal level, some of you I don't, and I don't want to just go blabbing stuff across the internet. But regardless, I said there was good and bad news. So the good news is that where I said we were going to be going on a hiatus and not uploading very much, I'm going to immediately make that not true. Those of you that have been watching the end of Berseria already know this, but I suspect a lot of you have just been like, yeah, these are long videos, and may not have played the game, or for whatever reason, I'm not really watching them right now. So the good news is that long time ago, probably like 6 years ago, um, I made a video about my favorite Tales games. And at the time, I had played five. I had played Abyss, Symphonia, um, Vesperia, Graces. There was a fifth one. Um, oh, and Zestiria. Obviously, now I have played 10. In addition to those five, I have also played Dawn of the New World, Fantasia, Zillia 1 and 2, and Berseria. So it's time to go back and relook at that video. But there's a problem. There's a problem with doing that. When I recorded the video, it was like 3 hours long to record to compare five games. I got more to say. I'm comparing 10 games. That would be 6 hours. But you know what? I'm sure it would be closer to 7 or 8. And I don't care how much you guys enjoy listening to me. Nobody got time to listen to me talk about Tales games for 8 freaking hours. I don't have time to record for that long. My throat would die. So we're not doing that. Instead, we're going to break it up. The first video will be talking about the protagonist, the character whose story everything is around. It won't really be talking about the protagonist's actions throughout the course of the story because that's kind of the main plot. We'll have a different video on the main plot, but it'll be talking about their personality, their character traits, which protagonist I actually enjoyed playing as, which ones annoyed me, etc., etc., etc. And then that'll be one video. I'm hoping to keep it down to 30 minutes or less, but honestly, who knows? I'm not going to try and restrain myself. The whole point of splitting this up is so I have room to talk about this to my heart's content and really, really cover everything. Second video will be about their significant others. That may not be their, like, boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, that's not what I mean by significant other. What that one really means is that it's the character who is in the party who is the most closely tied to the main character. Um, so good example of that is in Berseria, the main character Velvet doesn't really have a romantic interest in any of the party members. But needless to say, one of them is very, very, very close to her ongoing story, and they go through the game, they journey forward together. So there you go. That's the significant other character. Third video is going to focus on the melee focused character. This is going to be a character that uses short range weapons and is just all of their arts and everything are very martially focused. If there is a game where there's multiple characters that all have that, could qualify as that, then I just kind of picked the one that seems to embody it better. And yeah, the fourth video is going to be, not surprisingly, the range-based character. This might be an archer. This might be a character that uses a pole arm. You probably see right there in the top middle, we just have a like a really weird, sad face. That's because Dawn of a New World doesn't really have that many new characters, and for most of the categories, I could actually use characters that were from Symphonia but showed up also in Dawn, just because Symphonia has the freaking like 8 party members, and most other Tales games only have 6. So I ended up with characters I wouldn't otherwise be able to talk about. But yeah, with this within this category, there was just nobody in Dawn I could talk about. So sorry, Dawn, you automatically come in last on this category. Whoops. Uh, Fifth video is going to. I'm sure you guessed this by the fact we had the ranged character that was all archers and polearms. So all of a sudden we have the ranged character that is not weapon based but magically based. All of our favorite mages. I gotta tell you, I am really looking forward to making this video. There's a. It's not uncommon for my favorite character in a game to be the magician. So really, really, really looking forward to this and really breaking down definitively what their order is because I gotta tell you, I do not know. Like, I simultaneously want to say like 5 different of these are my favorite one. Um, so we'll see when we get there, but it's exciting. And then the sixth video is the sixth member. I know that's a really stupid title, but there was just it actually was. There were a lot of the games like Zillia, and I just loved all 6 party members so much that I was not willing to not talk about all 6 of them. And when I went and looked at it, and every single game had at least 6 playable characters, most of them only having 6 playable characters, I was like, oh well, there we go. Um, we can have a very, very valid video with these 6 relatively like there's no trait that like unites all of these different characters, but it's just they are the ones that either are a duplicate of a previous category or just ones we haven't talked about. So not really sure how this video will go. It's interesting. We'll have to see when we get there, obviously. Seventh video, again, I'm sure none of you are surprised by this. Um, is the antagonist video. We've been through the 6 party members. Here is the primary source of conflict within the story. You may notice that one of the people is repeated here. They showed up in the melee category, and then they're back here, and that's just because. Well, again, I'm trying not to give spoilers here, but one of the characters that is a primary villain in one game ends up being a party member in another. And it is another one of those situations where we wouldn't have anyone to talk about if I didn't reuse them. So yeah, we're actually putting them in both categories. Um, Obviously, in the antagonist one, we'll talk about them as a villain, and the other we'll talk about kind of them as a party member. Probably didn't need to specify that, but you know what? I still did. Deal with it. Um, Eighth video is going to be the secondary antagonist. Sometimes this is someone that's directly assisting the primary antagonist. Sometimes it's someone with a completely different set of objectives that just also adds a lot of conflict to the story. Sometimes it's even someone that opposes the antagonist just from their own angle. Like there's a lot of different ways in which the secondary antagonist comes in, but when I think about the game, they are the second source of conflict. The most prominent source of conflict that comes to my mind. Maybe you'll disagree. Maybe you'll think it's someone else. Um, I will mention that again, there was a antagonist in one of the games that was very probably potentially deserves to be the secondary antagonist, but doesn't show up here because she showed up in the magic section before. And that one is just at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? There are enough antagonists that I can avoid talking about the same character twice, so I'm going to. I couldn't really not talk about the main antagonist in the main antagonist category, but I can at least secondary is sort of like at my discretion, and I can decide to not have her be here, even though realistically she might deserve to. Ninth video will be the tertiary antagonist because yeah, just about every game has a lot of antagonists with a lot of different ones, and so this is just again when I think about the game, when I think about antagonists, the third one that comes to mind is the tertiary antagonist. There were cases where like Melchior and um, the one that's featured, I can just say it, Shigure. Knowing his name is not really a spoiler, I don't think. Both came to mind as the tertiary one, so I just kind of picked the one that I liked better. It doesn't do me any good to automatically pick one for the ranking that I don't like as much as the other one. Like, hello. Um, and then 10th is going to be the NPC, someone who is not a party member, or in one case, who is only a party member for a very short time, but still is very, very instrumental in moving the plot forward. Is one of the ones that is one of the characters that I remember the most fondly when I think about the game overall. 11th video, and from here I don't actually have any slides because at this point it's not things that can be pictured so much, but the 11th through 15th video is going to be we'll talk about the music in each game, which tracks really just immortalize everything. We'll talk about the main plot, separate from the main character's personality, but with like what is the actual setup of the game? What are our objectives? What are we trying to do? We'll talk about the combat system. Where is how fluid is it? How fun is it to play? Is it you know is the combat half the reason to play the game, or is it just like well executed, but the plot is the part I like the best? Because that definitely varied game to game. Um, we'll talk about pacing. Like, was this a game which is really good once you get to X point, or was it good the whole way throughout? Was it bland the whole way throughout, but at least it was interesting? Like, where does the pacing kind of end up in terms of the overall game flow? And then lastly, we'll talk about the world itself. We'll talk about sort of does the world feel like a place that actually exists, or does the world feel like it's just very, very arbitrarily put together in order to have us run around and do stuff until we get to the final boss? I will say in terms of like the point totals, because I will be kind of like using this to sum up which my favorite game is. I do count the last 5 videos more than I count the first 10. Just because the first 10 are all about characterization. And even though I do think characterization is by far the best thing that in the Tales series, it's the reason we play these games. It isn't like the protagonist is not equal in weight as the main plot. Main plot counts a little bit more. The music counts a little bit more than just one of the 10 characters that we're going to talk about. So I will weight the last 5 a little bit more heavily, but still not so heavily that the first 10 videos don't matter. Like they will still be the characterization will be the most important thing that a game can bring forward because that's kind of why you play Tales games, in my opinion. So yeah, look forward to that. I do not know how often they'll come out. Like this, remember the first half of the video. Like I do not have time to devote to this as much as I should. And yeah, what was I trying to say? Yeah, I don't have the time to devote to it as I should, but this is a video I've been wanting to make for a very long time, and I'm just not willing to say, "You know what? I am happy with what I have accomplished. Um, that's going to be it for me," without actually finishing. This is something I've been looking forward to making for a long time, and I do want to go out complete, if that makes sense. Yep, look forward to that. I am sorry for any of you that are disappointed by this. But yeah, got to look at what makes me the most happy, and right now that's some other things going on in my life.